Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Aviz Networks Podcast series. I'm your host, Shruti Jha, Digital Marketing Manager, and today we are continuing the conversation around one of the most important community-driven events in open networking, the SONiC PlugFest. So joining me today is Khuram Khani, a technology leader with nearly 20 years of experience across data networking, cloud, and open source. Khuram has led large-scale data center transformations and now heads customer success at Aviz Networks, where he works closely with customers to make sonic, open networking, and generative AI practical and accessible for real world environments. Khuram, it's great to have you on the show.
Shruti, thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited to present today.
So, Khuram, we have been hearing a lot around Plugfest, but one recurring question that we get and hear often is who should actually participate? So, today I'd like to keep the focus on why this event matters, not just for engineers, but also for the leaders. So, Khuram, Plugfest is often seen as a deeply technical event. From your perspective, why is Plugfest just as valuable for executives and networking leaders as it is for network engineers and architects?
At Avis, we see the Sonic, as the Linux of networking. If we see the Linux today, you can go today and run Linux on any compute. It's not tied with server. It runs fine with any server, and it saves a lot of money. Traditionally, the compute OS was also tied to the hardware. So same idea we are applying in the networking space, and we call it the open networking. The idea is you can take the Sonic OS and you can run it across a variety of white box hardware. You have choices of almost 150 plus like switches, for example, the Sonic can run on. So the PlugFest is a community testing event, where we are qualifying the community Sonic for customer use cases. But the larger goal is actually enabling the open networking, across your data center, across your enterprise and so forth. So that's what actually it's enabling, and that saves almost 50% of the cost when you are building your next generation data center. So you can build your generation the data center at half the cost, and the money you are saving, you can go and reinvest those dollars in your AI initiatives or anywhere else you like to do.
Now, coming to the next question, which is, for executives, they are evaluating open networking and risk and ROI are the top concerns for them. What does Plugfest offers leaders in terms of confidence, visibility, and decision support that they wouldn't get from isolated POCs or vendor briefings?
Yeah, so PlugFest is a gateway, to accomplish a standardization in your network. So, the Sonic started with the hyperscaler. So Microsoft was the first one to deploy it, and Azure is built on it, right? So it is deployed at Azure, and many customers, in enterprise and data center, some of the largest data centers are running it, some of the largest retailers are running it. Now, some of the smaller enterprise, the challenge is, hey, you know what? If I go open source, am I on my own? So I think that's where the people, get really nervous, because not everybody has the same level of resources, what hyperscalers, does. And that's the part that PlugFest is really trying to bridge. So we are trying to provide essentially four things, to our like executives and customers. So first is an open test plan. So we are providing, hey, you know what, this is a community Sonic release that we are qualifying in PlugFest, and we have full transparency into the test plan, for what functional testing, system testing, interop is being done. We are taking inputs from our customers, and we are incorporating and automating those at lightning speeds. And these test plans are automated, so these test plans will run on it. The number second is we are providing the switch options to the vendors. So same way, like the compute, the Linux runs on any compute. We are providing here, here are the 150 plus SKUs you can go run Sonic on, and depending on your use case, we provide them the choices of the variety of switches. And the fourth thing they get is, which is natural, is a TCO analysis. Hey, what, if your use case is IP class or VXLAN or maybe Edge, here are the switches A, B, C, D, E, F, that you can use, and then the associated TCO analysis. So Aviz, we are a neutral vendor. We are providing a neutral opinion across what works for the use case. So the customer gets these four things out. The executives get these four things out. They can make the decisions better way, and that gives them the confidence, visibility for decision making.
Okay. And many organizations, they hesitate to move to Sonic because of these perceived operation risk. How does Plugfest help executives de-risk modernization initiatives before making large-scale investments?
Yeah, I think this is very important, Shruti, because when customers, and executives, then they go open source, I think there are three things they get nervous. So the first is, like, hey, if I am going to open source, where is my quality process? So like, for example, am I on my own? So traditional network operating system, go through a rigorous like quality process where you have automated regression, functional test, feature test, system test, interop, and scalability is being done. And if I'm going like on SONiC, is this thing going going to like a cowboy? No, it's not. So we have put the same processes there where we have the quality assurance process and automated test plans to make sure the open source is tested. The second thing what customers are worried is like, hey, what is SONiC a science project? So for example, they go and go the SONiC path, like is it really production ready? And those are the so Aviz is working with many customers, and we have customer use cases, and large customers have deployed. Some of the largest data centers, enterprise, largest retailers have deployed SONiC. So we share some of those best practices of how SONiC is deployed, where what works and where maybe the gaps are. So customers are well aware when they are making the decision. And the third thing is, okay, so SONiC is working. Okay, we have the quality process, we deploy it in our production. Now, in case like, we have a problem, where we would go to. And that's where the Aviz, got customer back, because like when customer have any issues, so we are a one-stop shop. They can call and we will help them. And so these are the three things we are providing to reduce transformation risk for customers. And it's the same philosophy. Like we took from Linux, for example. You had the Ubuntu Linux. We have Red Hat there. So this is the same Red Hat philosophy we are trying to apply in networking space.
Now turning to the technical teams, network engineers, architects, and operation teams. Khuram, why is PlugFest such a valuable hands-on opportunity for them specifically?
So we have automated around 400 plus, test cases, and these are like in five broad use cases. So if I may call it, so we have the IP class, we have VXLAN, we have Rocky, we have layer 2 leaf and spine, and we have PoE edge. So the customers, the engineers are able to get, we have the open test plan, what we call it, and we share with the customers, hey, what, this is what is being tested. So the engineers are getting the full visibility and transparency into the testing event. They have their input and equal vote. Everybody gets like equal vote of like, what they want to get tested and what they don't. And we are taking their inputs and adding them, year over year, like, pretty fast at lightning speed, where everything is automated. So engineers are getting the chance to get their hands on, into the Linux, into SONiC, and SONiC is an operating system which is really standardizing your fleet, right? So traditionally, like engineers may be managing 3 different vendors, right, or 4 different vendors, and everybody has their different CLIs, their different UIs, and we are trying to standardize your fleet, so that way the cost of operation becomes much easier. The overall operational efficiency increases. So this improves the day-to-day life for the engineers.
So that actually explains a lot for why it's not only viable for leaders, it's also viable for networking team to get together, understand why validation is really important for them. Now moving on, a lot of team, they do understand SONiC conceptually, but they hesitate when it comes to production. How does PlugFest help engineers move from theory to validated real world confidence?
Yeah, I think this goes back to, like a lot of engineers, this is SONiC a science project, as I illustrated. No, this is not a science project. This is deployed in production at scale at some of the largest retailers, some of the largest data centers. And what we are providing to the customers are best practices. So you have the use cases. So what we provide them are cookie cutter configs which are deployed. So for example, if a customer has an IP class use case or a VXLAN use case, or an edge use case, we are providing them the configurations, that they can go and deploy. And these are the configurations which are tested at scale. They are tested to make sure the feature is working correctly. the system, when you combine the different features together, it's able to perform correctly. When you start to scale and stress, so you are putting maybe your 100,000 routes or 80,000 route combined with BGP and VXLAN, and then you do a failover, a node failover, a switch failover. So all these combinations, are well tested and automated to make sure that SONiC is really ready, for production. And we benchmark it, and Keysight is one of our key partner, and we use Keysight gears for traffic generation. So we are using Keysight for traffic generation for measuring the latency, throughput, and benchmarking it accurately. So once like customers are deploying SONiC in production, there are no surprises there. So this is really production ready.
So we have covered a discussion about leadership and also networking team. But we often see that there is always this challenge, the misalignment between leadership goals and operational realities. How does PlugFest help create a shared understanding between executives, architects, and operators?
Yeah. So where we begin is, we look at the customer use cases. For example, what is the problem that we are trying to solve for customers? So we begin at solving the customer problems, and customers, like, we see, like, 5 broad use cases: the IP class, VXLAN. We are seeing the edge, we are seeing Rocky, and we are seeing the layer 2 leaf and spine. And I think 90% of the customers today who are deploying are fitting in these scenarios. So we look at the customer use cases. We provide the choices to the customers. Hey, you know what? This is the hardware that works for your use case, and this is a TCO analysis. We are providing the customers also day 0, day 1, and day 2 configs. So they are able to get into, from the point they start the evaluation, and then they are doing their pilot and staging and lab testing to the production. So all the way we got their back on the journey, and PlugFest is providing all these cookie cutter configs to the customers. And then we do that along with the TCO analysis, so they know, like, how much money they are spending. We are seeing very, very often that customers are able to save 50% or more when they are building their next generation data center. And just by taking this a step toward the open networking, it really saves them a lot of money, and it makes the life for executives, you don't need to do layoffs to save money. I mean, you can go open networking path and save a lot of money on the infrastructure. And this is where how the next generation infrastructure is built. There is a reason why Azure would choose to deploy SONiC. I mean, Azure they have the resources to do anything they like, right? But they still chose to go this path because this is more cost effective. This is how the next generation data centers are built. So that's what they get. The operators are getting their efficiency, so you don't need to go manage, 10 different type of switches and hardware. You have a unified, fleet. I mean, just, if you look at the Southwest airline, it was built on, they run the same type of plane, so they don't have to carry, like, different type of parts. They have the same type of parts they're carrying. They get the efficiency in their operations. So same idea is, if you have a unified fleet running the same OS across anywhere, you can manage it consistently. So it makes the operator's life easier. And then the velocity of the security fixes, and things are coming in because it's open source. You can go and deploy very fast on containers. So the velocity is very high. So it's a win-win situation, for everybody.
And we are seeing that, PlugFest is bringing together silicon vendors, hardware partners, NOS, and tools all in one place. Why this ecosystem level validation so important, especially for organizations which are, trying to avoid vendor lock-in?
Yeah, so I just also want to introduce. So Aviz One Center is, this is the only lab in the world, where we have all the vendors in one place, where we are validating SONiC. It's hosted in Fremont, in California, and the Aviz One Center, we have all different kind of partners who are participating in one place. So this is a unique opportunity to go and qualify SONiC. So coming back to the question, so like what? So I think it all starts again, with the customer use case. What they are the problem they are trying to solve, and then once we know the customer use case, we are providing them the transparency into the open test plan, the features, what is working and what is failing for them. So customers are getting the visibility into, hey, if I'm using feature A, B versus a vendor C. hey, this is working and this is not working, and that's the TCO analysis and cost for it. So customers are getting the transparency, customers are getting the choices, of hardware, and they are getting the standardization, and it solves their use case, and they can build the next gen data center, at cost effectively.
Thank you, Khuram. And now coming to the last question. If you had to summarize it clearly, who inside an organization should absolutely participate in PlugFest, and what role does each of these people would play?
Yeah, I think the PlugFest, it's a community sonic testing event, and I think all of the network engineers, network infrastructure engineers, network managers, directors, VP of networking, VP of infrastructure. If you are building a data center, or if you are upgrading your data center, or even if you have some of those legacy switches that you want to go and run Sonic on, I think this is a great time to go and participate, and so you can come join us. You can if you are building your next gen data center, you can do that in a standardized way, and you can do it at half the cost, and you will be truly enabling open networking. I think this is a time, like, everyone is realizing that the open compute is the way to go, open networking is the way to go. So I think so there's a parade starting, and we wanna welcome you to join the parade.
Khuram, this has been a great perspective on why PlugFest isn't just a technical exercise, it's a strategic one. For our listeners, we are still accepting registration for the SONiC PlugFest. Everyone who registers will receive access to the PlugFest webinar recording, where we'll walk through the results and key takeaways. If you're evaluating open networking, this is a great way to start. And stay informed. Learn from the broader community and align your teams before making any major decisions. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you at PlugFest.